On June 5, 2025, the United States Supreme Court delivered a rare unanimous decision, 9-0, that sent shockwaves through the nation and beyond. This landmark ruling fundamentally reshaped debates over the Second Amendment right to bear arms and the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable seizures. The case, Smith & Wesson Brands, Inc. vs. Mexico, became a pivotal moment in American legal history, touching on personal freedom, public safety, and the limits of government power. Its impact extends far beyond U.S. borders, altering diplomatic relationships and setting a precedent for how American laws interact globally. The unity of the court, with Justice Elena Kagan authoring the opinion and support from every justice, underscored the strength of the legal foundation. In an era of deep political divides, a 9-0 ruling signals a core consensus on federal law. The decision has already shifted the balance in the ongoing debate over gun rights and regulations. Hailed as a monumental victory by some, and a devastating setback by others, its full impact is still unfolding. To understand why this case is a game-changer, we must explore the history, arguments, and consequences now rippling through society and the world. To grasp the Supreme Court's decision, we must revisit the Second and Fourth Amendments. The Second Amendment, fiercely debated, protects the right to keep and bear arms, recently interpreted as an individual right, especially after District of Columbia vs. Heller in 2008. The Fourth Amendment guards against unreasonable searches and seizures, ensuring government cannot arbitrarily confiscate property, including firearms, without due process. Lawsuits against gun manufacturers for crimes committed with their products raise questions about property rights and due process. In response to such litigation, Congress passed the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, PLCAA, in 2005, shielding manufacturers from liability for criminal misuse of their products, with some exceptions. PLCAA became the industry's legal fortress, and opponents sought ways around it. This legal and political storm set the stage for the Supreme Court's 2025 decision. The case's origins trace to Mexico, where gun violence fueled by U.S.-sourced firearms devastated communities. In 2021, Mexico filed a $10 billion lawsuit in U.S. federal court against major gun manufacturers, arguing their practices facilitated illegal trafficking to cartels. Mexico's legal team, backed by gun control advocates, claimed the PLCAA shouldn't shield manufacturers from foreign lawsuits or from knowingly enabling trafficking. A federal district court dismissed the case in 2022, citing PLCAA. But Mexico appealed. In 2024, the First Circuit revived the lawsuit, suggesting PLCAA might not apply to harms outside the U.S., a bombshell ruling. This opened the door to potentially devastating litigation against the firearms industry, raising fears of endless liability. Recognizing the stakes, Smith & Wesson and others appealed to the Supreme Court. The court agreed to hear the case, setting up a definitive ruling on PLCAA's scope. The legal world watched, knowing the outcome could reshape not just gun law, but the reach of American statutes worldwide. The stage was set for a historic decision. At the Supreme Court, both sides presented arguments that cut to the heart of American law and sovereignty. Gun manufacturers argued PLCAA was clear. It barred lawsuits holding them responsible for crimes committed by others, and allowing Mexico's case would undermine Congress's intent. They warned that such liability would cripple lawful commerce and violate basic fairness. If gun makers could be sued for crimes abroad, what industry was safe? Mexico countered that PLCAA's protections shouldn't extend beyond U.S. borders, and that manufacturers' practices knowingly enabled trafficking. They invoked the PLCAA's predicate exception, arguing the companies violated laws related to firearm sales. The justices faced a fundamental question. Does U.S. law shield companies from foreign lawsuits over crimes committed with their products? The answer would define the limits of American legal protection for its industries. The stakes were enormous, with implications for commerce, sovereignty, and constitutional rights. The nation awaited the court's verdict. On June 5, 2025, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous decision for Smith & Wesson, rejecting Mexico's lawsuit. Justice Elena Kagan's opinion was clear. PLCAA's broad language protects gun makers from liability for crimes committed with their products, regardless of where those crimes occur. The court found Congress intended PLCAA as a comprehensive shield, not limited by geography. Attempts to use the predicate exception failed. Mexico's claims weren't about specific legal violations, but about lawful business practices. Concurring opinions from Justices Thomas and Jackson emphasized the Second Amendment and the separation of powers, respectively. The ruling closed the loophole plaintiffs hoped to exploit, creating a robust, multifaceted precedent. The court's unity gave the decision exceptional legal force. The message was unmistakable. PLCAA stands, and its protections are broad. The decision brought relief to the firearms industry, shutting down the threat of endless lawsuits from abroad and at home. The 9-0 ruling solidified PLCAA as a nearly impenetrable shield, ensuring manufacturers can operate without fear of liability for criminal misuse. For gun owners, it was a victory for the Second Amendment. Without manufacturers, the right to bear arms would be meaningless. The ruling also reinforced Fourth Amendment principles, preventing indirect punishment of lawful businesses for others' crimes. For gun control advocates, it was a major setback, closing off a key legal strategy and forcing a return to legislative efforts. The decision's implications extend beyond firearms, affirming that lawful industries can't be dismantled through creative litigation. The debate over gun rights and industry responsibility now shifts back to Congress and the states. The legal landscape is changed, permanently. The Supreme Court's decision reverberated globally, straining U.S.-Mexico relations and setting a precedent for corporate liability and sovereignty. For Mexico, it was a stinging defeat, seen as prioritizing American industry over foreign suffering. The ruling signals that U.S. law, especially PLCAA, shields American companies from foreign lawsuits over harms abroad. This may inspire other nations to adopt similar protections or discourage international litigation in U.S. courts. The decision boosts confidence for American exporters, assuring them they won't be held liable for misuse abroad. For activists, it's a setback. Civil litigation as a tool for global accountability is now far more limited. The principle could influence future cases involving technology, pharmaceuticals, and more. The challenge of regulating cross-border harms through one nation's courts has never been clearer. Legal experts across the spectrum agreed. Smith & Wesson versus Mexico is a landmark. Clark Neely of the Cato Institute praised the court for upholding the rule of law and preventing courts from legislating from the bench. Professor Heidi Lee Feldman called the decision a tragic abdication, arguing it prioritizes corporate immunity over public safety. The ruling's unanimity surprised many, with Jonathan Turley noting Justice Kagan's strategic focus on statutory text built a broad coalition. The decision's power and durability are immense. Future attempts to circumvent PLCAA are likely doomed. Stephen Halbrook highlighted the Fourth Amendment angle. Punishing a lawful business for others' crimes is akin to asset seizure without wrongdoing. The court's refusal to endorse collective guilt reinforces the need for individual responsibility in law. The ruling's impact will shape debates over gun rights, liability, and constitutional protections for years to come. The legal consensus: this is a knockout, not just a win. The Supreme Court's 9-0 decision is more than a legal victory. It's a statement on the rule of law and the separation of powers. By upholding PLCAA, the court confirmed that changes to gun policy belong in the legislature, not the courtroom. The ruling provides clarity and finality, ensuring lawful businesses aren't dismantled for others' crimes. The debate over gun laws now returns to Congress, state legislatures, and the ballot box. The future of American law will be shaped by the political will of the people, not by creative lawsuits. The Supreme Court has spoken. Now the path forward rests with the nation. The conversation continues, and it's up to all of us to be part of it.